Hi, welcome to Horror Score, episode 26.
Cadaver Christmas.
And we're your hosts, Jesse and
Vanessa.
A couple of quick bits of housekeeping as we move into the new year. We have decided to make a couple of changes to our Horror Score formula. If you're a regular watcher, you may have noticed that Vanessa's one-sentence synopsis has gone the way of Old Yeller and will be replaced by...
Yeah, we shot it in the face.
Yes.
We took it out back.
What is that being replaced by?
And another thing.
Now, because we film everything out of order, you might still see one or two episodes that contain a Vanessa's one-sentence synopsis that have already been filmed that we just haven't got into the rotation yet.
Oops.
Yeah, so, I mean, it will return and then it will disappear again, much like my mustache did a long time ago.
But unlike Old Yeller.
Yes.
You
Old
didn't
Yeller.
come back. Actually, that would be a great horror movie.
Very Old Yeller in the Pet Cemetery.
So, like, the young boy who Yeller belonged to is an adult now. He's got kids of his own. And Old Yeller comes back with a vengeance.
Mold Yeller.
But now he's got the shotgun.
And he's from the future.
And rabies.
Yes. So, other changes to the Horror Score lineup are going to include, we're not going to necessarily release an episode every week. We're going to shoot for 2 weeks. We've got, our schedules have changed.
We've got full-time jobs.
Yeah, as things are opening back up and the world is coming back to normal, we're going to commit to releasing an episode every 2 weeks instead of every week, but there might be exceptions. A certain holiday rolls around, we decide we want to do My Bloody Valentine, and it lands on a Wednesday or something. So episodes may not necessarily be on Fridays, and they will not be every week, but definitely every 2 weeks or more, depending what's going on. So if you have not subscribed, if you were just like, you know what, I know episodes come out every Friday, I'll just check back, just not feeling like hitting that subscribe button, this would be a good time to hit it because you never know when a new episode is going to come out now. So moving on, also a quick plug, if you're not getting enough horror in your life, don't forget to check out Make Me Shudder. Some friends of ours, Jay and Shane, are reviewing every movie on the streaming service Shudder from A to Z. So, here we are, A Cadaver Christmas. We own this movie.
Or as I like to call it, A Janitor's Christmas.
Yeah.
More aptly named.
I thought I missed something. The main character has no name in the movie. He's just the janitor. So I felt good about that at the end. Like, sometimes when you're watching a movie and there's a couple of characters, like, I always feel like I did a disservice to watching the movie if I don't know someone's name. And I didn't know his name, doesn't have one. So, quick synopsis as we probably just move into story right away is a janitor and a few sidekicks, like, what do we have? A bartender.
They're just drunks at the bar.
A drunk, wayward police officer, his perp.
The scene starts at a bar.
On Christmas Eve,
yeah.
Yes. They get trapped in some sort of scenario where cadaver zombies, who are different from regular zombies somehow.
Oh, no, they're two different things.
They make a point in the movie to stress
things.
this.
Yeah. There's a person on either side of the argument.
Yes.
I think the cop thinks they're zombies and the janitor calls them cadavers.
He's very insistent.
And they have like this little mini feud about what they actually are.
And I mean, this happens. It's weird. I think it's strange in a lot of zombie movies where when there are zombies, it's like no one's ever heard of zombies before usually, and no one outright calls them zombies. Like Walking Dead, like, insisted on never calling them zombies. They're like walkers and roamers and herds, but they never just come out and say zombie, which makes me feel like it can't be this world that we live in. Like, it's another version of Earth where no one's ever heard of a zombie before, which is weird because they don't usually do that with vampires. In a vampire movie, people are like, oh my God, that's a vampire. And then, you just got to figure out the mythos. So that's the story. So that being said, I didn't think that the story it's not super in-depth. There's a weird radioactive formula cameo, but...
It's just your classic janitor redemption story. Yeah. He had a wonderful character arc. He's this kind of disgraced janitor, in the beginning, and it's Christmas Eve. Not a lot to be thankful for, not a lot to look forward to in the new year. And then by the end of the movie, you see some big changes in that character, and every plot should have that.
What doesn't change about the janitor is how much blood he's covered in through the whole movie. From the first time we see him...
Or his headband.
He is just soaked in blood.
He's one of those like Karate Kid.
That's to keep the blood from running into his eyes.
Face.
Yeah, because his eyebrows weren't gonna cut it.
Because he didn't have any.
So I gave just story a 9. Dialogue's pretty simple, plot's pretty simple, sets. The movie doesn't go very far or do a lot, but they work with what they've got. What'd you give it?
I gave story a 7 because I feel like the main plot didn't really have as much to. Even there were a lot of zombies.
Yes.
But I feel like the main plot really didn't have anything to do with them fighting the zombies. It wasn't really the main course. The main course was like the cop and the janitor arguing over whether or not they were cadavers or zombies.
I don't think this movie wasted any time letting the plot get in the way of the movie.
Not for a second. I was never like, wow, we're really in the middle of a plot.
And you know what? That's okay. Because every horror movie doesn't have to be a movie that's going to win a huge award for like sometimes you don't want a brilliant story. You just want to watch some mindless zombie chaos. And this movie there are some categories where it does better.
Especially, you can't ask for a lot when the entire setting takes place, like it looks like it takes place in the basement of the drama department at a community college.
This was definitely, I feel like, guerrilla filming tactics. We're like, where can we film today? We're going to film in this building at the college, with a scene roughly written out on a piece of paper that they probably changed as they were filming. Like, oh, look, stairs. What can we do with these stairs? But it's part of the movie's charm. So
here's a locked room that contains 36 stacked chairs that probably nobody has been in for 6 years. This will be the main room.
Yeah.
I like that.
For me, the weakest category in the movie is villain. Do you want to start us off on villain?
Sure. It wasn't the weakest for me. It actually got 1 more point than story. It got 8. Because the zombies weren't very creative, but what they lacked in creativity, they made up for in number.
There was a lot of them.
So it got 8.
I gave it 8 as well. But I mean, where do you go from there? Zombies, and there's the subplot like we mentioned, where they're cadavers versus zombies. Are they cadavers? They're cadaver zombies. But aside from that, yeah, a lot of them. You got your prom zombie covered in blood. You got your other janitor zombie covered in blood. Your cook zombie covered in blood. Your naked zombie.
All those college proms.
Yeah. So, they're pretty standard, and I think most movies, like, unless you're doing something special with your zombies, it's been done so many times. If you're not taking these zombies anywhere new, like, it's hard to get a high villain score for just a bunch of roamers. So.
Okay, but these were like, it just seems like they were a bunch of kids like trying to make a movie. They can't afford like a train. Like they can't be trained to Busan.
Yeah.
They can't.
And that's okay.
They've got community college basement, and that's what they have. And they have 13 friends they met at the bar who drunkenly agreed to be an extra in their movie.
But sometimes you can take a zombie movie and then you can do something else, like The Dead Alive. The mom, she was like a super zombie at the end of the movie.
You're competing with a budget that was extraordinarily big for what it was.
Okay, for what it was, I would say that The Dead Alive.
It was a big horror. It was a big horror budget for what it was.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next category, horror.
All right.
Let's get into horror. So first of all, the movie's not scary. You're never scared. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek horror, silly zombie deaths,
No.
Oh no. So
he's so talented. I'm so proud.
Horror. Like I was saying, it's not scary. It's a lot of tongue-in-cheek action, but we do get a lot of the horror action. So a lot of zombie kills, a lot of interesting zombie kills, and they do rely on just like a lot of blood, but things get more creative as the movie goes on. I did give this category 13 horror score points for horror. Even though it's more of a comedy horror, we got a lot of just the raw gore, horror, zombie smashing action, and there was a bunch of deaths. So where'd it land for you?
I gave it 10. Because they probably because of the budget, they got really creative with their zombie kills. You know, they can't show like knife going through like zombies, whatever, and coming out the back. So they did things like kill a zombie with a desk. Like pick up a desk and like kill him with it that way, which I thought was fun and different, unlike what you were saying earlier about how they weren't very new or innovative. Yeah. I think some of their kills were pretty innovative, and just by the end of the movie, this janitor is well, he like really takes his appearance he's very straight laced kind of guy, and he takes his job and the rules very seriously. And then just by the end of the movie, he just gets more and more like soaked and caked in blood, and just I liked watching like that.
Yeah, once we get a scene where he manages to like wipe a little bit of blood off, the next scene, sure enough, blood is being just thrown all over.
Like they use a lot of blood as well, which I always appreciated.
But yeah, this movie being an hour and 25 minutes from the first time we see him until the end scene, he is covered in blood. Speaking of, I guess, their blood effects, we'll hop into effects here. You want to take away effects?
Sure. I had just kind of like a good feeling about this movie. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but I just felt good about it when I was watching it. Like I wanted every character to do well, because it was very clear that they were all amateurs and everything, and they were trying really hard to be like funny and like stand out and everything, but they were all really trying, which I always appreciate. And the camera work was really great. It was as if of all these friends, the one who wanted to make the movie was majoring in film or something, and so he wanted to try out all these tricks, and so he got all of his like actor friends to do this film with him. Last thing, the music was pretty decent, and there's this Christmas guitar riff that I feel like is pretty much unrivaled in the Christmas horror music department.
That's a bold statement.
Yeah, I'm a bold lady.
Well, I gave effects 11, and even though it was low budget, the writing is shoddy. Like you said, Vanessa, someone behind the camera knew what they were doing.
Did I say it? I gave it 13. So I gave it 13 points.
I think they filmed this movie once before also. I'm not entirely sure, but when looking up pictures of this movie, I found a lot of screenshots. I'll throw one up there for you to look at. Of all the characters, just much younger in the opening scene of the movie, where they've got like, they're thinner, they've got more hair, they're younger, and like, what is this? This isn't the movie. So I feel like this was maybe a movie that these people did in college, and then a couple years later, maybe 3, maybe 5, maybe 10, I don't know. At some point, they were like, you want to remake that movie? Or maybe they only shot the opening scene in college, and then they decided to give it another shot with more money after all the experience they had had since then, and we got this movie. So it's hard to find anything about this movie. The IMDb, like, no one has any pictures. It's very sparse. There's not a lot of reviews, but it did get a 4.7. That's where it's kind of sitting right now.
On what?
IMDb got a 4.7 user rating. So our final category, I think that we have never had a bigger gap in our scores ever on Horror Score. You want to go first or second for the S Factor category?
I think you should go first.
Okay. Well, the S Factor category in its purest form is where we can add points for whatever reason we want to. Much like Doomsday
with
Preppers.
Reckless abandon.
With reckless abandon.
Apparently.
But we should explain it. I will. I gave this movie 19 S Factor points because I feel like
insanity.
It was so genuine that the people, like lots of people make bad movies and they think they're making bad movies, or they know they're making bad movies and they're like, yeah, just do this, it'll look terrible. But I feel like there was such a high level of honesty that these people probably made a lot of sacrifices to make this movie as good as they could. And even though they probably filmed a lot of things on the fly, I'm sold. There was, there's one scene that makes me cringe a little bit, which made me say, this is not going to be a 20. This is not a 20 S Factor. There is a perp character. some of the actions of that character. There's a very distasteful scene that took me out of the movie for a second, and I thought movie would have been better without him having sexual relations with a cadaver.
I think it was
cringeworthy.
It was just rape. It wasn't.
Yeah. So I gave it 19 points overall. Might have been 20 if the movie didn't take me out of it for a second.
Yeah, it was really gross and unnecessary. It didn't really do anything for the plot. I mean, like, he's already like a prisoner. We don't have to. We can infer a lot from that. We don't need to. You can make him say something creepy, you know, if that's the vibe you want to give this character.
Yeah, just a
you really don't have to do that.
Lazy attempt at trying to make us hate him even more.
I can't believe they were able to film that with a straight face, to be honest. But anyway, you give it 19. I'm just gonna stop at 9. I'm just gonna give it 9 points.
It's a big gap.
Yeah, just a big honest. Like, I know you were saying you value honesty.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw my honest 9 out there. I thought it was really funny and cheap, and I haven't seen anything like it before. And so that's where it got points for me.
So we're going to total these up in a second, but before we do, we're going to go to our new segment with Vanessa's And Another Thing.
This is basically a segment where I always find that I don't have enough talking time to really get out my frustrations about certain parts of films. And so we just give it its own little segment later on.
Sounds good. Here we go.
So I briefly mentioned this awesome Christmas guitar riff that happened during the movie. But other than that, like a strand of garland maybe mixed in, and the fact that they were at the bar on Christmas Eve. None of this movie was about Christmas. It was a complete afterthought. Don't market yourself as a Christmas horror movie if you're not trying to go all out with the decorations or using some sort of Christmas thing as a weapon. You really have to integrate it into the plot as well.
And we're back. So, that puts me at a total of 60 horror score points for A Cadaver Christmas.
And it gets 47 out of me, which averaged together is 53.5 horror score points.
Okay. And remember, if you want to get a hold of us for any reason, whether that's to send us a gift, make a movie suggestion, want to be a guest on a future show, you made a film that you want us to review, we can be reached at horrorscorereview@gmail.com. So, give us 20 minutes and we might save you 2 hours.
Stay spooky.